Hello everyone. Today I will be going over area of a circle and area and circumference of parts of circles. Before we get started with that, I just wanted to go over just a little trick that you can use to remember how to convert between radius, diameter, and circumference. This is actually on page 3 of your note-taking packet. At the bottom of the page, there's room to fill this in. So when you're going from your radius to your diameter, which I have right here, all you're doing is just multiplying by 2. And to go back from your diameter to your radius, you're just simply going to do the opposite, which is to divide by 2. Once you have your diameter, well, think about it, your circumference formula is pi times diameter. So to go from your diameter to your circumference, all you're doing is multiplying through by pi. And then to go from your circumference back to your diameter, you're doing the opposite, which is to divide by pi. So hopefully this little trick will help you in the future when you're working on those skills. So let's start with area of a circle. Your area of a circle formula is pi times your radius squared. And remember, your radius squared means your radius times your radius. Now, if you would like to take some time to understand why the formula is the way it is, I've included this link right here. It's a YouTube video. It's brief. It's only about 3.5 minutes, and it explains why the formula is pi times the radius squared. So if you're curious, that might be a good video for you to watch. Okay, so your first example from radius of a circle says from area of a circle says find the area of a circle with a diameter of 4. Well, if your diameter is 4, that means that your radius is half of that, which is 2. Now, notice the instructions say to either enter an exact answer in terms of pi or use 3.14 for pi. So what I've done is calculated both. So leaving your answer in terms of pi, well, my radius is 2. So 2 squared is 4. So that means my answer in terms of pi is going to be 4 pi units squared. Now, if I wanted to calculate it using 3.14 for pi, I would simply just take 4 and multiply it by 3.14, and that would give me 12.56. Oops, hang on one second. Or approximately, that's what those squigglies mean, 12.56 units squared. Okay, your area is always going to be squared. It's the only one that gets squared. Everything else would just be units. Okay, find the area of a circle with a radius of 8. Again, we're just going to use our area formula, which I have. I always start with my formula first. Again, we can either write our answer as an exact answer in terms of pi, or we can use 3.14 for pi. So my radius is 8. 8 squared gives me 64. So in terms of pi, your area would be 64 pi. Or if I multiply 64 times 3.14, I'm going to get 200.96 units squared. Find the area of a circular fountain with a diameter of 10 feet. Answer in terms of pi and using 3.14 for pi. Well, if my diameter is 10 feet, that makes my radius half of that, which is 5 feet. So now I'm going to plug my radius into my formula. Area equals pi r squared. 5 squared is my radius. Well, my radius is 5, so 5 squared gives me an answer of 25 pi, or the area would be approximately equal to 78.5 feet squared. If I were to multiply 25 times 3.14, you get 78.5. Find the area of a circle with a circumference of 6 pi. Either enter an answer in exact terms of pi, or either enter an exact answer in terms of pi or use 3.14 for pi and enter your answer as a decimal. So notice this one's a little bit trickier because they're giving you the circumference. Okay, well, I have your circumference formula here. Circumference equals pi times diameter. So if your circumference is 6 pi, that means that 6 has to be your diameter. So if my diameter is 6, that makes my radius here 3. Half of 6 is 3. So now I'm just going to plug my radius into my formula. 3 squared is 9. So my answer in terms of pi, my area would be 9 pi. Or if I multiply 9 times 3.14, I would get an area that's approximately equal to 28.26 units squared. Find the area of a circular sign that has a circumference of 14 pi inches. Please answer in terms of pi and using 3.14. So again, my circumference formula is C equals pi times diameter, which means that my diameter in this problem is 14, which makes my radius 7. So now we can plug our radius in. 7 squared is 49. So that gives us an area in terms of pi of 49 pi. Or if you were to multiply 49 times 3.14, you would have an approximate answer of 153.86 inches squared. Okay, let's talk about area and circumference of parts of circles. I have your two formulas here. A equals pi r squared and circumference equals pi times diameter. So really all you're doing is you're following the same steps that you have been for finding area and circumference. However, depending on how much of the circle they give you, that's how you're going to solve it at the end. So in my first example right here, you'll see I have a quarter circle. So you're just going to find the area or circumference like you normally would. And at the end of your problem, you're going to multiply by 0.25 because we know that 1/4 is equivalent to 0.25. If you have a half circle or semicircle like we do right here, you're going to solve the problem the same way. You're going to find your area or your circumference, depending on the problem. And then at the end, you're just going to multiply by 0.5, or another thing you could do would be to divide by 2, because we know that to cut something in half, you would just simply divide through by 2. And then the last type of problem you'll see is where they give you 3/4 of a circle. So again, you're going to find your area or circumference using your formulas, and then once you're finished doing that, you're simply just going to multiply through by 0.75 or by 3/4, because we know that the decimal equivalent for 3/4 is 0.75. This would be a good reference page to have open while you are working on these problems, because it tells you exactly what to do while you're working on them. Okay, so here we can see that they're giving us a semicircle or a half circle, and they're asking you to find the arc length. Well, the arc length is referring to this part on the outside, the arc of your circle, which means your circumference. You'll see right here I have arc length refers to circumference, the outer arc of the circle. So I've used my circumference formula. It's a semicircle, so we can either multiply by 0.5 or divide by 2. So as you can see, I've taken my diameter. Notice that this whole line right here is red, which means that the 8 is referring to your diameter, the entire length going through the center of your circle. So I'm going to plug in 8 for my diameter. That gives me a circumference of 8 pi. And then I'm going to divide by 2 because it's a semicircle, which leaves me with my area, or rather my circumference, equaling 4 pi. Or if I multiply through by 3.14, I'm going to get 12.56 units. You'll see in the instructions it says either enter an exact answer in terms of pi, which would be 4 pi, or you can use 3.14 for pi and enter your answer as a decimal, which would be 12.56 units. Here again, we have another semicircle. Notice this one's asking you to find the area of the semicircle. So as you can see, I've got my area formula, pi times my radius squared. And because it's a semicircle, I'm dividing through by 2. My radius is 2. Notice that it's a red line going from the center to the outside, which means that they are giving you the radius. So r equals 2. And I'm just going to plug that into my formula. 2 squared is 4. So that leaves me with 4 pi divided by 2, which gives me my answer in terms of pi, which would be 2 pi. Or if I were to multiply 2 times 3.14, I would get 6.28 units squared. Okay, here we have a quarter circle. So that means we're going to solve it the way we normally would, and then multiply through by 1/4 or by 0.25. It says find the arc length. So again, that's your circumference since it's arc length. Your formula for circumference is pi times diameter. And then there you can see I've added on the 1 times 1/4 since this is a quarter circle. Here they're giving you the radius because it's going from the center to the outside edge. So your radius is 1, which makes your diameter 2 because your diameter is twice your radius. So now I'm going to plug 2 in for my diameter, 2 times pi, and then times the 1/4 for a quarter circle. That's going to leave me with 2/4 pi, which simplifies to 1/2 pi. And if you were to take 3.14 and divide that in half, you would get 1.57 units. Notice I didn't square this because it's circumference, it's not area. You only square your area. Okay, so those are some examples from those 3 skills: area of a circle, circumference of parts of circles, and area of parts of circles. The correlating note-taking packet pages are pages 9 through 12. And again, if you would like to see additional examples, please watch the videos for circumference of parts of circles and area of parts of circles. I'm going to actually delete that part out because that doesn't refer to this week. Any questions, please feel free to email me. You can also screenshot any examples that you're having trouble with and send those via email, and I will do my best to explain them. Have a great day, everyone.